Thank you very much. Anybody feel a need to make a rebuttal? Sounds like they mostly agreed with each other, didn't they? Let's go to the second question. And this question will begin with Mr. Nazier. As constrictions on school budgets continue, it seems classroom size is growing and the number of aides is shrinking. What would you do to help deliver an education of value to children with these restrictions?
It certainly is a critical time in not only the school districts, but for all of us. We're all feeling the pinch of a restricted budgets. The district, and not so much the board, not the board has been involved, but the administration, whatever, have done an excellent job in trying to preserve as much as possible the ability to provide kids with a proper education. We look at every opportunity that we can to provide as small class sizes as possible and still provide for the other services. The last couple of years, there have been reductions throughout the district as far as wages, in days being cut back and whatever, and all of the school, the teachers, the administration, all of the classified have shared in that burden of reduced incomes to allow us to maintain as best as possible the class sizes. We've taken the opportunities whenever that money has been available. This year there was some extras, and I know that we hired 4 extra teachers to help alleviate classroom sizes in some of our most critical areas. It is a challenge, but we've tried as a district to reduce those expenses as best we can to forego any improvements that maybe we can get by with without doing, in hopes that we can at least give the best possible education to the kids that we have in our district at this time.
I certainly agree that we're looking at a time where the way budgets are, it's difficult to make things happen. It was easier a few years ago, as I'm sure those who have been on the board can attest. but how we reduce class size, I don't know. I'm not sure that in this budget atmosphere, we're going to find that magic pill that's going to give us what we need to be able to hire those that we need to reduce those class sizes and or provide the infrastructure in order to do that. In my thinking, it's extremely important, however, to provide our teachers and staff with the tools that they need to take care of a class that's maybe a little larger than it should be. It's my understanding that Richfield High has an average class size of 27 or 28 students per teacher, and some are as high as 35, 36, even 37 students. I've got, as I've mentioned, a student that's going to graduate this year, and she comes home, and there are times when she's got homework, but was unable to bring a book home because there wasn't enough books to go around. And I'm sure that is a stress on our teachers and on the staff, not to have the types of things that they need to be able to provide for students in those larger classes. And so maybe that's where we ought to start, knowing that we're not going to have all of the funding necessary to do what we need to do. Maybe bit by bit we can take a bite out of this elephant and provide for our teachers one at a time if necessary the things they need to take care of their classes.
One of the major reasons that I would like to be involved as a school board member is because oftentimes I wonder, when we're spending money for certain programs or when we are adding to the administrative end of the educational process. I wonder if that money wouldn't be better spent on teachers. I know I'm talking as a teacher, and I want you to know that I am a good teacher's advocate. That is, if you are doing the job in the classroom, you are the most important part of this system. The most important after the student is the teacher. We need to put as many teachers in the classrooms as we could put. If we have to eliminate buildings or parts of buildings, if we have to eliminate administrative costs, we should do that, because that's where it gets done. That's where we need to put our time, that's where we need to put our energy, and that's where my decisions will come. What is best for the student? Not that looks good, what is best for the student?
I think those words ring true for all of us. What is best for our students? And in the way the budget is, we just have to do more with less, and that's just the reality of any political government office, is that they're doing more with less, and that's what's being required. I think the district's done a good job of doing that. I mean, in attending school board meetings in the last year, I've tried to get to as many as I could and listen to the budget and how things are run and how Mr. Pat Wilson manages the budget and does things with money, and you start to realize how difficult it is to say, well, we need 3 more teachers in this school because we have high class sizes. Well, there's just not money there. And the answer isn't easy to find. I think we have to look outside the box and say, what can we do without? And I have to agree with Mr. Moore and say that teachers are the base important aspect of any school district. And we have to have teachers in the classroom to be able to teach our kids. We can't do it with aides. We can't do it with extra facilities or things like that. It's core going to have to be the teachers. And you look at it and say, part of the question was, it seems like we're increasing class sizes and cutting aides. Well, maybe we should cut aides. Cut 4 or 5 aides, hire 1 more teacher, and have that extra class with fewer students in it, instead of having an aide for every class. There's things like that. We need to look outside the box and say, well, I know we've had aides all along, but maybe we need to change that and not have the aides, spread it out, and have actual qualified teachers in the classrooms going about. I don't know that there's an easy answer to it, and that may not be a solution that works, but it's something that needs to be looked at, and I think that's one thing that I've noticed in being involved in my kids' lives. They come home and tell me what's going on, and they never really talk about the aides so much as the teacher, and so I think that's somewhere that we could look at changing.
Never-ending battle, money. I think the classrooms probably will continue to grow in size. I agree with many of the things that's been said. No question about it. The teacher is the most important piece of the puzzle. Maybe look at the next step. What can I do as a parent? What can I do as a grandparent? Or what can I just do as a concerned citizen to volunteer my time? Possibly willing to help that teacher. Can we set up some scheduling of volunteer time to take us some of that slack that maybe we couldn't afford that teacher's aid for? I think there's avenues that are being looked at. I think that's one of the critical parts. The economy all the way around. It's not a gloom and doom economy, because Sevier School District does a lot of things that are done well, but they'll face the same budget cuts as everybody else. And it's up to us maybe to be more involved to help that part of our education. Thank you.
Excuse me. I definitely agree with what's been said, and
I just want to commend the school board for really preparation. The economy's definitely been a big pinch on really our whole U.S. society, and I feel like that here in Sevier County we've been more prepared, probably better than any county even in our state, by the people who have been working with the budget and taking care of them. It's always an issue, classroom size and the amount of teachers and the amount of aides. I think even when I was young, listening to the news, that was an issue back then. And I feel like that we're doing well with what we've got. But I really agree with Jack and what he said about we can look inside. We have many parents out there that can volunteer their time. I've got a first grader in the school system right now, and my wife's had the opportunity to go and read to the classroom, and she's had a lot of time to go and actually help volunteer her time. And she made the comment to me, she goes, I just love going and actually helping these kids. I wish there was a way that we as parents can figure out how to go and volunteer our time. And I think that's really where it can start, is in the home. If we can get parents and grandparents that actually have some time to go volunteer, I think that's a great avenue to look at. There are many other avenues that we can look at as well, but we want to be able to work with our teachers. We want them to have the ability and the capacity to take care of our kids. And without actually the kids feeling it. We want the kids to be in a learning environment where they go and they learn, and they don't notice class sizes, they don't notice that there's not a teacher's aide, but that they're learning and they're improving. And that's really the important part, is that the kids are getting a wonderful education, no matter the class size, because there are some teachers that can do wonderful things with many kids, and some that can do wonderful things with just a few kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question, and if you can do this in less than 2 minutes, that's good. The next question is, field trips have been scaled back over the past few years. What is your view on field trips? What the current status is and where it will be in the future? Begin with Mr. Eric.
Well, having attended a number of field trips over the years, as I'm sure we all have, I certainly enjoy them. But I think at the same time, as we've talked about this budget situation, those certainly might be the types of things that need to be looked at as we look for ways to cut. I understand that it takes a lot of money in gas and other things to take a group on a field trip. And you combine that with maybe an opportunity to do something a little bit more in the classroom. Maybe via the internet or some of these other things that the computer allows us to do in terms of virtual field trips. Maybe those are some things that we need to look at doing. And there's also opportunities that come in occasionally for groups, artistic and otherwise, that will come into the schools. And I'm a big supporter of those types of things. I'd certainly like to see them happen, as with regard to, as long as the principal of the school feels comfortable with those. A year ago, we brought in a dance group, Ryrie Woodbury Dance Group, as part of the Tourism and Events Office, and they wanted to go into the schools here in the community. And so we contacted each of the principals, and a few of them took them up on the offer, and a few didn't. And that's great. We'd love to have them there, but if the school doesn't feel like it's something that they should have, then we respect that. So anyway, those are a few of the ideas that I have with regard to field trips.